Tonight, you are not a king preparing for battle, nor a knight riding across distant kingdoms, nor even a famous hero whose name fills the pages of history. Instead, your life is wonderfully quiet. You are the little fairy who collects fallen stars. It is a job so gentle that almost no one in the world even knows it exists. While families finish their evening meals, while sleepy children close their eyes beneath warm blankets, and while the last lights disappear from tiny cottages scattered across the countryside, your own day is only just beginning. You live far beyond the places marked on ordinary maps, hidden inside a peaceful valley surrounded by rolling emerald hills, where every stream sparkles beneath the moonlight, and every breeze carries the soft fragrance of lavender and wildflowers. No human has ever wandered into this valley, and perhaps that is exactly how the valley prefers it. Here, time moves a little more slowly. Nothing ever seems to hurry. Even the rivers flow gently, as though they too enjoy taking their time. Your little home rests beneath the enormous roots of an ancient willow tree that has watched over the valley for longer than anyone can remember. Its silver leaves whisper softly whenever the evening breeze arrives, creating the kind of quiet sound that could easily lull someone into a peaceful sleep. Your cottage is small enough to disappear beneath the hanging branches, yet inside it feels surprisingly warm and welcoming. Tiny shelves carved from pale oak hold neat rows of crystal bottles that shimmer faintly whenever moonlight enters through the round windows. A small wooden table sits beside a fireplace where gentle blue flames dance without producing smoke or heat. They simply glow, filling the room with a peaceful light that never hurts your eyes. Fresh bundles of dried lavender, chamomile, and mountain mint hang from the ceiling, filling every corner of the cottage with a calm, comforting scent. Beside the fireplace stands a single wooden chair covered with the softest moss you have ever gathered from the forest floor. It has become your favorite place to spend the final few quiet moments before every night's journey begins. As always, you wake not because of an alarm, but because the moon has risen high enough for its silver light to reach your bedroom window. A thin beam of moonlight slowly stretches across the wooden floor until it gently touches the edge of your blanket. That is how every evening begins. The moon never speaks, yet somehow it always knows exactly when it is time for you to wake. You slowly open your eyes and remain perfectly still for a few peaceful moments, listening to the comforting sounds surrounding your little home. Somewhere outside, a tiny stream bubbles quietly over smooth stones. Leaves rustle softly above the roof as the old willow tree sways with the night breeze. A distant owl calls only once before the valley becomes peaceful again. There is no noise from busy roads, no crowded cities, no rushing footsteps, only nature, moving at its own gentle pace beneath the stars. You sit up slowly, stretch your tiny wings, and smile as they catch the moonlight like delicate pieces of frosted glass. Every evening they shimmer a slightly different color depending on the season. Tonight, they glow with soft shades of silver and pale blue, almost matching the quiet sky waiting outside. After making your little bed, you wander across the wooden floor towards the tiny kitchen where a kettle already waits beside a cup carved from polished acorn wood. You place a handful of dried chamomile flowers into the warm water and watch as the delicate fragrance slowly fills the room. There is never any rush to finish your tea. In fact, rushing is something almost completely forgotten inside the hidden valley. You carry the warm cup to your favorite chair and quietly watch the moon through the round window while gentle curls of steam rise into the still evening air. This peaceful routine has remained almost unchanged for hundreds of years, and you would never dream of changing it. Some evenings a rabbit quietly hops past your window on its way toward the meadow. Sometimes a family of deer walks between the trees without making a single sound. Occasionally a curious fox pauses outside your garden, glances toward your little cottage, then calmly continues its evening stroll. Everyone in the valley understands that this is the beginning of your nightly journey, and no one wishes to disturb the quiet rhythm that has existed for so very long. Eventually, after finishing the final sip of your tea, you gently place the empty cup upon the table and walk toward a small wooden cabinet standing beside the front door. Resting upon the very top shelf is the single most important object you own. It is your crystal lantern. Delicate vines of silver wrap gracefully around its glass, while tiny stars seem to sparkle deep inside its perfectly clear walls. During the daytime, it remains completely still, but now, as the moonlight touches its surface, a soft silver glow slowly awakens from within. It is never bright enough to light an entire forest. Instead, it shines with a calm, comforting light that seems made especially for peaceful walks beneath the stars. This little lantern has only one purpose. Somewhere across the valley, tiny fallen stars are already waiting to be found, and before the first colours of dawn appear beyond the eastern hills, every one of them must begin its journey home again. You gently lift the lantern from its shelf, wrap your fingers around its smooth handle, and walk toward the small round door of your cottage. As you slowly open it, cool evening air greets you with the sweet scent of wildflowers and fresh grass. Above your head, thousands upon thousands of stars stretch endlessly across the velvet sky, and for just a moment, before taking your very first step onto the quiet stone path, you pause to admire the peaceful world waiting outside, knowing that somewhere beneath this beautiful night, the very first fallen star of your journey is patiently waiting for you to find it. You gently close the little round door behind you, making sure it settles into place without the slightest sound. The old willow tree above your cottage sways lazily in the cool night breeze, its long silver branches hanging like soft curtains that shimmer beneath the moonlight. Every evening before beginning your journey, you pause beneath its enormous trunk for just a moment. It has become a quiet tradition between you and the ancient tree. You rest one hand against its smooth bark, still warm from the afternoon sunshine it collected hours ago, and silently thank it for protecting your home while you are away. The willow never answers with words, yet its leaves always seem to rustle a little more warmly whenever you do this, as though it understands perfectly. Your crystal lantern hangs comfortably from your hand, glowing with a calm silver light that reaches only a few gentle steps ahead, leaving the rest of the valley wrapped peacefully in soft darkness. That is exactly how the lantern was meant to shine. It was never designed to chase the night away. Night is not something to fear here. It is simply another peaceful part of the valley, as gentle and welcoming as the morning itself. You begin walking along the narrow stone path that winds quietly between patches of lavender, tiny white daisies, and soft moss that feels almost like velvet beneath your feet. Every stone has rested here for so many years that even the edges have become perfectly smooth. You know each turn of this little path by heart. You could probably walk it with your eyes closed, guided only by the familiar scent of flowers and the quiet melody of the nearby stream. The valley feels wonderfully awake in its own peaceful way. A family of hedgehogs slowly wanders through the grass, searching patiently for their evening meal. Somewhere high above, a sleepy robin tucks its head beneath one wing before settling more comfortably upon a low branch. Fireflies drift lazily through the air like tiny floating lanterns, never moving in straight lines, always dancing gently wherever the breeze carries them. None of these little creatures seem surprised to see you. To them, your nightly walks are simply another part of the valley's rhythm, as ordinary as sunrise or the changing seasons. After several peaceful minutes, you arrive beside a narrow stream that quietly winds through the heart of the valley. During the daytime, its surface sparkles beneath the sun, but tonight it mirrors the stars so perfectly that it almost feels as though another sky has been placed beneath your feet. You pause upon the little wooden bridge, crossing the water, and lean gently against the smooth railing. There is never any need to rush beyond this place. In fact, you have learned over many centuries that some of the most beautiful moments happen only when you stop moving altogether. The water slips silently beneath the bridge, carrying tiny reflections of the moon downstream where they disappear among the reeds. Somewhere nearby, frogs sing slow, gentle songs that echo softly across the quiet water. The breeze carries the faint fragrance of blooming jasmine from a meadow hidden just beyond the trees. For a little while, you simply stand there breathing slowly, allowing the peaceful stillness of the valley to settle around you like a warm blanket. Eventually, the silver glow inside your crystal lantern changes almost too gently to notice. At first, it is only a tiny pulse, as soft as a sleeping heartbeat. Then another follows, and another. You smile immediately. The lantern has sensed something. Somewhere nearby, one of the little fallen stars is waiting. You lift the lantern slightly higher, watching carefully as its light becomes ever so slightly brighter whenever you face a certain direction. It does not point like a compass. Instead, it gently encourages you, growing warmer whenever your footsteps carry you closer to the tiny piece of forgotten starlight. You leave the bridge behind and follow a narrow trail leading toward a meadow you have visited countless times before. The grass grows taller here, brushing softly against your knees as you walk. White flowers open only during the night, their petals glowing faintly beneath the moon as though each one has borrowed a tiny piece of starlight for itself. A gentle breeze rolls across the open field, causing the sea of grass to sway in slow waves that travel all the way to the distant hills. It reminds you of watching the ocean from far away, calm and endless beneath the moon. The lantern pulses once more, brighter now. You slow your pace even further. Fallen stars are delicate, and you have always believed they deserve to be approached with patience rather than excitement. As you wander between the flowers, you begin noticing tiny signs that would escape almost anyone else. A single patch of grass bends ever so slightly toward one particular spot. Dewdrops resting upon nearby leaves shimmer with a warmer golden color than the others. Even the air feels just a little softer, carrying a quiet warmth that does not belong to the cool evening breeze. Then, at last, you see it. Resting peacefully beneath the petals of a tiny white flower lies a star no larger than a walnut. It glows with a gentle golden light, rising and falling so slowly that it almost seems to be breathing. It has not burned the grass beneath it, nor frightened the little insects crawling nearby. Instead, everything around it appears unusually calm, as though the meadow itself has been quietly protecting this little traveler while waiting for you to arrive. You kneel beside it without making a sound. For a few peaceful moments, you simply watch its warm light dancing across the petals of the flower above it. Every fallen star is different. Some glow with bright excitement, others carry quiet hope. A few seem wrapped in gentle sadness, patiently waiting to be remembered. This one feels different. Its light is soft, comforting, and wonderfully peaceful, like the memory of sitting beside a warm fireplace on a rainy evening or listening to someone read a favorite bedtime story long ago. You cannot know exactly whose forgotten dream it once belonged to, but somehow you can always feel the emotions resting quietly inside each little star. Very carefully, you place your crystal lantern beside it. Without touching the star at all, you wait. The lantern understands what to do. Its little silver doors slowly unfold like the petals of a flower opening beneath the moonlight. A delicate beam of silver light reaches toward the tiny golden star, not pulling it, not forcing it, but simply inviting it. The little star responds almost immediately. It rises gracefully from the grass, floating upward so slowly that a drifting feather might seem hurried beside it. Tiny golden sparkles trail gently behind as it glides through the cool night air before settling peacefully inside the lantern. The silver doors quietly close once again, and for a brief moment the lantern glows with both silver and gold together, filling the meadow with the softest, warmest light imaginable. You smile to yourself. One little star has begun its journey home. Many more are still waiting somewhere beneath this endless, peaceful sky, and with the whole night still stretching quietly before you, there is no reason to hurry at all. You remain kneeling for another quiet moment, watching the lantern settle back into its familiar, gentle rhythm. The tiny golden star inside no longer flickers with uncertainty. Instead, it glows peacefully beside the silver light, almost as though it has finally found a safe place to rest after a very long journey. You have learned that every fallen star needs a few moments of calm before continuing toward the heavens. Just as people sometimes need a quiet evening after a long day, stars also seem to appreciate a little stillness before beginning the next part of their journey. Around you, the meadow carries on exactly as it had before your arrival. A small field mouse carefully climbs onto a smooth stone to nibble at a seed. Somewhere nearby, a cricket begins a slow, steady song that blends perfectly with the whisper of the evening breeze. Nothing in the valley seems disturbed by your work. In fact, it often feels as though the valley itself enjoys helping you. The flowers protect the stars. The grass hides them from strong winds. Even the gentle hills seem to cradle every tiny light until you quietly arrive to collect it. Rising slowly to your feet, you brush a few tiny petals from your cloak and continue walking through the moonlit meadow. Your footsteps are so light that the dew resting upon the grass barely trembles beneath them. Tiny droplets sparkle like countless little diamonds scattered across the field, each reflecting the moon in its own delicate way. If someone from the human world were somehow able to stand here beside you, they might think the valley looked almost too peaceful to be real. But to you, this quiet beauty is simply home, and every evening it offers something slightly different to admire. Sometimes it is the shape of the clouds drifting silently overhead. Sometimes it is the fragrance of flowers that bloom for only a single night each year. Sometimes it is nothing more than the comforting silence itself. After walking for several peaceful minutes, the meadow gradually gives way to a gentle woodland where slender birch trees stand in graceful rows beneath the stars. Their pale trunks shine softly in the moonlight, making the forest feel bright even without the sun. The leaves above whisper together with every passing breeze, creating a gentle sound, much like distant waves rolling onto a quiet shore. This place is known throughout the valley as the Listening Woods. It earned its name long ago because every sound here seems softer, slower, and somehow kinder. Conversations become whispers. Footsteps become little more than gentle taps against the earth. Even the wind seems to lower its voice out of respect for the peaceful stillness resting beneath the trees. You always enjoy passing through this forest because it encourages you to notice the smallest details. A snail making its careful journey across a fallen leaf, tiny mushrooms glowing faintly beneath an old log, spiderwebs stretched perfectly between branches, each thread decorated with shimmering drops of dew that resemble strings of tiny pearls. Nothing here demands attention. Instead, every little wonder quietly waits to be discovered by anyone patient enough to slow down. As you wander deeper into the woods, your lantern remains calm for a while, suggesting that no fallen stars rest nearby. That never disappoints you. The nights are never measured by how many stars you collect. They are measured by how peacefully you travel between them. Some evenings you find many, other nights only a handful. Either way, the journey itself has always been your favorite part. The valley is never exactly the same twice. One evening, a family of foxes may be sleeping beneath the ferns. The next, a family of rabbits might have chosen the very same place. One autumn night, the trees glow with leaves of amber and crimson, while months later they stand quietly dressed in delicate blankets of fresh snow that soften every branch and silence every sound even further. Yet no matter how the seasons change, one small tradition always remains the same. Halfway through the Listening Woods stands a weathered stone bench carved by fairies so long ago that even the oldest owl cannot remember who first placed it there. Every keeper of fallen stars has rested upon that bench during every nightly journey for longer than history remembers. You approach it slowly, smiling as you notice that the moss growing across its edges has become especially soft after the recent gentle rains. Setting your lantern carefully beside you, you take a seat and gaze upward through the tall birch branches. Above them, the stars seem endless. Some shine brightly, others glow so faintly that they almost disappear against the deep velvet sky. You often wonder how many dreams are carried among those distant lights. How many quiet wishes belong to children falling asleep tonight? How many gentle hopes belong to old travelers watching the stars from lonely hillsides? Somewhere, someone may be looking up at this very same sky without ever realizing that one tiny star briefly rested inside your lantern only a few moments ago. The thought always fills you with quiet happiness. You are part of a story that almost nobody knows exists, and somehow that makes it even more special. A cool breeze drifts gently through the forest, carrying with it the unmistakable fragrance of fresh rain, even though no clouds cover the moon. You recognize that scent immediately. Beyond the listening woods lies the misty hollow, a peaceful valley where silver mist rolls gently across the ground every single night, regardless of the weather. Tiny streams weave through the hollow like ribbons of glass, and smooth stones warmed by hidden springs remain pleasantly warm throughout the year. It is one of the oldest places in the valley and one of your favorite destinations, not because fallen stars appear there more often, but because the silence there feels almost magical. Even your own breathing seems softer whenever you enter its gentle mist. You lift your lantern once again and smile as its silver glow gives the faintest little pulse. Somewhere beyond the birch trees, another forgotten star has quietly settled beneath the peaceful night, patiently waiting for the moment your paths finally cross. With unhurried steps and a heart as calm as the moonlit valley itself, you continue your gentle journey toward the misty hollow, where another small piece of the night sky is already dreaming of the long, peaceful flight back home. The birch trees gradually begin to thin until only a few graceful trunks remain standing behind you. Ahead, the landscape slowly changes once again. The ground becomes softer beneath your feet, covered by an endless carpet of pale green moss that seems to glow gently beneath the moonlight. Wisps of silver mist drift lazily across the earth, never rising higher than your knees, moving so slowly that it is almost impossible to notice their motion unless you stand perfectly still. You have arrived at the edge of the misty hollow, one of the oldest and quietest places in the entire hidden valley. It is said that even before the very first fairy built a home beneath these hills, the mist already wandered peacefully through this hollow every single night, arriving quietly after sunset and disappearing just before the first golden light of dawn. No one knows where it comes from, and no one has ever tried to follow it. Some mysteries you have learned over the centuries become even more beautiful when they remain unanswered. You take a slow breath as the cool air fills your lungs. The hollow always carries its own gentle fragrance, a mixture of fresh rain, damp earth, soft moss, and tiny white lilies that bloom only where the mist lingers longest. The scent is wonderfully calming, almost like wrapping yourself inside a warm blanket after a long, peaceful walk. Your lantern glows steadily beside you, its silver light blending beautifully with the drifting mist until it becomes difficult to tell where one ends and the other begins. Every sound seems quieter here. The distant stream becomes little more than a gentle murmur. Even the breeze softens, brushing lightly through the grasses without disturbing the perfect stillness resting across the hollow. You begin walking once more, following a narrow trail that winds gently between smooth grey stones covered with soft emerald moss. Tiny droplets of water cling to every blade of grass, reflecting the moonlight like thousands of miniature stars scattered across the earth. Sometimes you wonder if the sky secretly enjoys looking down and seeing its own reflection waiting below. As you continue deeper into the hollow, you notice familiar shapes emerging quietly through the drifting mist. Ancient stone circles stand peacefully among the grass, their surfaces covered with delicate patches of silver lichen that shimmer beneath the moon. No one remembers who first placed them here. Some fairies believe they were arranged by the oldest guardians of the valley. Others quietly whisper that the stones simply appeared one morning after the world's very first sunrise. Whatever their true story may be, the circles have remained untouched for countless generations. Every keeper of fallen stars pauses here, not because they must, but because the place somehow encourages quiet reflection. You step gently into the center of the largest circle and slowly turn your gaze upward. The mist remains low enough that nothing hides the magnificent night sky stretching endlessly above you. Thousands upon thousands of stars shine peacefully overhead, their soft light reflected in every tiny droplet resting upon the grass around your feet. For a brief moment, it almost feels as though you are standing between two different heavens, one above and one below, both equally calm, both equally beautiful. You close your eyes and simply listen. There is no hurry. There has never been any hurry. Somewhere nearby, water drips slowly from the branch of an old cedar tree. A single owl glides silently overhead without making the slightest sound. Far beyond the hills, perhaps miles away, a waterfall sends its gentle voice drifting across the sleeping valley, softened by distance until it becomes little more than a comforting whisper. These are the sounds you have known for centuries, yet they never become ordinary. Every night they feel just a little different, reminding you that even peaceful places are always gently changing. After a while, your lantern gives another soft pulse, then another. This time, the silver glow is joined by a faint golden shimmer from the little star already resting safely inside. Somehow the stars always seem happiest when they travel together. You smile softly and continue along the winding path until you reach a tiny pond hidden almost completely by tall reeds and clusters of blooming water lilies. The pond is perfectly still. Not a single ripple disturbs its glass-like surface. Looking into it feels less like staring at water and more like gazing into another quiet world beneath your feet. The reflection of the moon is so clear that you instinctively slow your breathing, unwilling to disturb such peaceful beauty. Along the edge of the pond sits an old wooden bench carved from the trunk of a fallen cedar tree. You know this bench well. It has become one of your favorite places to rest for a few peaceful minutes during every journey. You gently place your lantern beside you and take a seat, allowing your tiny wings to relax after the slow evening walk. From here, the entire pond stretches before you like polished silver, surrounded by graceful reeds that sway almost imperceptibly whenever the faintest breeze drifts across the hollow. Several tiny frogs rest quietly upon lily pads, their eyes half closed as though they too are enjoying the peaceful silence rather than preparing to sing. A pair of white swans glides gracefully through the mist on the far side of the pond, their movements so slow and effortless that they hardly seem to disturb the water at all. They pass one another without sound before disappearing once again behind a curtain of silver mist. You watch them for a long while, feeling wonderfully content. Moments like these remind you that your nightly journeys have never truly been about collecting stars alone. They are also about witnessing the quiet beauty that reveals itself only to those willing to move slowly enough to notice it. Most of the world sleeps through these gentle hours, never seeing the moon resting peacefully upon still water, never hearing the soft whisper of mist moving across the grass, never watching two silent swans disappear into silver light. But you are fortunate. Every single evening, the valley shares these little treasures with you. Eventually, your crystal lantern brightens once again, just enough to catch your attention. This pulse feels different from the others, slightly warmer, slightly steadier. You stand slowly, lift the lantern from the bench, and notice its gentle glow leaning toward a narrow trail that disappears into a small grove of ancient cedar trees beyond the pond. Somewhere beneath those towering branches, hidden among the moss and quiet shadows, another tiny fallen star waits patiently beneath the endless moonlit sky, trusting that, sooner or later, you will find your way to it. You leave the quiet pond behind without looking back. Not because there is nothing more to see, but because you know it will be waiting for you tomorrow night exactly as it has waited every evening for countless years. The narrow trail leading into the cedar grove is softer than any path you have walked so far. Thick cushions of moss cover the ground from edge to edge, making every step completely silent. Above you, the ancient cedar branches stretch so wide that they weave together into a gentle canopy, allowing only scattered pieces of moonlight to filter through. Those silver beams fall across the forest floor like narrow ribbons of light, creating peaceful little islands of brightness surrounded by gentle shadows. The air feels slightly cooler here, carrying the rich scent of cedarwood mixed with damp earth and fresh pine needles. You breathe deeply, enjoying how every part of the valley seems to have its own unique fragrance. Some places smell of wildflowers, others of rain or flowing water, while this quiet grove has always reminded you of old wooden bookshelves, warm fireplaces, and peaceful evenings spent listening to stories. It is a comforting scent, one that somehow makes the whole forest feel older and wiser without ever becoming lonely. As you continue walking, you notice that the sounds of the outside world slowly begin to fade. The distant stream disappears first. Then the whisper of the wind becomes softer and softer until even the leaves overhead barely move at all. It is never completely silent inside the cedar grove. Instead, every sound simply becomes wonderfully gentle. Somewhere above, a squirrel shifts quietly inside its cozy nest. Tiny insects hum almost too softly to hear as they drift lazily between patches of fern. From somewhere far deeper in the forest comes the slow, rhythmic tapping of a tiny woodpecker finishing the last few moments of its evening work before settling down to rest. Your lantern continues glowing steadily, becoming ever so slightly brighter with every careful step you take. You know another fallen star must be close now, yet there is never any excitement or urgency in your search. You have long ago discovered that stars dislike hurried footsteps. Whenever you slow your pace, they seem to shine a little more brightly, almost as though they enjoy being discovered by someone who notices every little detail along the way. So you slow down even further. You gently run your fingertips across the rough bark of an old cedar as you pass, feeling the deep grooves carved by hundreds of years of gentle weather. Tiny patches of emerald moss grow between those grooves like soft little blankets. A family of glowing mushrooms rests peacefully beneath the roots, their pale blue light blending beautifully with the silver glow of your lantern. One small snail slowly makes its way across a fallen branch, carrying its tiny shell with patient determination. You smile quietly to yourself. Somehow, the smallest creatures always seem to understand that there is no reason to rush through such a peaceful night. After a little while, the trail opens into a tiny clearing no larger than your little cottage garden. At its center stands an enormous cedar tree unlike any other in the valley. Its trunk is so wide that several fairies standing hand in hand could never hope to reach all the way around it. The branches spread gracefully across the clearing like the arms of a kindly old guardian, sheltering everything beneath them from strong winds and heavy rain. Around its roots grows a perfect circle of tiny white flowers that bloom every season without fail. They never seem to fade, no matter how many winters pass. You have always believed the tree quietly protects them, just as it quietly watches over everyone who enters its peaceful clearing. Your lantern suddenly gives the brightest pulse of the evening. Its silver glow gently washes across the flowers until one tiny patch begins to shimmer with a warm golden light. You kneel carefully beside the ancient roots. There, resting upon a bed of soft moss beneath the shelter of the old cedar, lies another little fallen star. This one is even smaller than the first, no larger than a smooth acorn, yet its light feels wonderfully warm. Unlike the golden star already resting inside your lantern, this little traveler glows with delicate shades of pale amber and soft honey, as though it carries the memory of a quiet autumn afternoon filled with golden leaves drifting gently through still air. You remain perfectly still, simply admiring its peaceful light. Every fallen star tells its own silent story without using a single word. Some remind you of laughter shared beneath summer skies. Others feel like peaceful winter evenings beside glowing fires. This tiny star seems filled with the comforting warmth of home itself, the feeling of returning after a long journey to find a familiar window glowing softly in the distance. You place your lantern gently upon the moss beside it. As always, the little crystal doors unfold without the slightest sound. Silver light flows quietly toward the waiting star, not pulling it, not commanding it, but offering a gentle invitation. For several peaceful seconds, nothing happens at all. Then, with the grace of a feather drifting through perfectly still air, the tiny amber star slowly lifts itself from the moss. It floats upwards so delicately that even the smallest breeze would seem hurried beside it. Tiny sparkling fragments of light drift behind it before quietly disappearing into the night. The little star glides through the open crystal doors and settles beside its golden companion. For a brief moment, the lantern fills with soft shades of silver, gold, and amber, creating a glow so gentle that even the flowers around you seem to brighten with quiet happiness. You close the lantern once more and hold it carefully in both hands. Two little stars now rest safely inside, their lights slowly blending together into one calm, comforting radiance. You always enjoy this moment. Each collected star somehow makes the lantern feel a little warmer, not in temperature, but in spirit, as though every forgotten dream quietly keeps the others company while waiting for dawn. You thank the old cedar tree with a gentle bow before continuing on your way. As you leave the peaceful clearing behind, you notice something you have seen many times before, yet never grow tired of witnessing. High above the tallest branches, dozens of tiny, paper-thin leaves slowly loosen their grip and drift gracefully toward the forest floor. They do not fall quickly. They seem to dance through the moonlight, turning gently in the cool air before finally settling upon the moss below. Watching them reminds you that everything in the valley follows its own gentle rhythm. Leaves fall when they are ready. Flowers bloom when the season quietly invites them. Rivers never hurry to reach the sea. Even the stars, though they travel across unimaginable distances, always return home with perfect patience. Holding your softly glowing lantern close, you follow the winding trail as it leaves the ancient cedar grove behind. Beyond the trees, the landscape begins to open once again, revealing distant rolling hills bathed in silver moonlight. Somewhere beyond those peaceful hills, another forgotten star has already begun its quiet wait beneath the endless night, and with the moon still hanging high above the valley, there is more than enough time for your gentle journey to continue. As you leave the shelter of the ancient cedar grove, the night seems to open around you once more. The rolling hills ahead stretch peacefully beneath the silver glow of the moon, their gentle slopes covered with long grasses that sway so slowly in the evening breeze that they almost appear to be breathing. A narrow ribbon of pale stones winds lazily between the hills, disappearing and reappearing beneath patches of moonlight, like a quiet little stream frozen in time. This is one of your favorite paths in the entire valley because there is almost nothing here except open sky, soft grass, and silence. There are no towering trees to hide the stars, no rushing rivers demanding attention, and no steep mountains standing between you and the endless heavens above. It is simply a place where the earth and the sky seem to meet one another with complete peace. You walk slowly onto the little stone path, allowing your eyes to wander upward. The stars seem brighter here than anywhere else in the valley. Perhaps it is because nothing interrupts their gentle light, or perhaps it is simply because this place encourages you to look up more often than anywhere else. Sometimes you imagine that the stars enjoy watching you just as much as you enjoy watching them. Night after night, they quietly observe your patient journey across the valley, knowing that before sunrise you will return another one of their tiny companions safely home. It is a comforting thought, one that always makes the enormous sky feel a little less distant. Your lantern swings gently beside your hand with every unhurried step. Inside, the two little stars rest peacefully together. Their lights no longer appear separate. Instead, they have blended into a warm glow that feels almost alive, filling the crystal lantern with gentle shades of silver, gold, and soft amber. Occasionally, one tiny sparkle drifts upward inside the glass before fading again, rather like the glowing embers rising from a peaceful fireplace. You smile every time you notice it. It reminds you that the little stars are never lonely while traveling together. They seem to enjoy one another's quiet company, just as travelers often enjoy sharing a long, peaceful road without needing to speak very much. The gentle breeze becomes slightly cooler as you climb higher along the hillside. It carries with it the fresh scent of wild thyme growing between the stones, mixed with the delicate fragrance of tiny bluebells that bloom across the slopes during this time of year. Every few steps you notice another little patch of flowers opening beneath the moonlight, their petals catching tiny drops of dew that sparkle like polished crystals. A family of rabbits quietly grazes nearby, occasionally lifting their ears as you pass before calmly returning to their evening meal. None of them seem afraid. They know your footsteps bring only peace. Further along the path, you reach a lonely wooden gate standing between two weathered stone walls. The gate has never truly served as a boundary. There are no fences stretching away into the distance, no fields to protect, and no homes beyond it. Long ago, an old fairy carpenter built it simply because he believed every peaceful path deserved a welcoming entrance. Over the centuries, the wood has turned soft shades of silver and grey beneath countless seasons of rain and sunshine. Tiny climbing roses now wrap themselves gently around its frame, blooming with delicate white flowers that release the sweetest fragrance whenever the night air grows cool. You always pause here for just a moment. Placing one hand upon the smooth wooden gate, you slowly open it. The tiny iron hinges make no sound at all. They never have. Someone once enchanted them so that no traveler would ever disturb the quietness of the valley simply by passing through. Beyond the gate lies one of the widest meadows in the hidden world, known among the fairies as the Meadow of Quiet Wishes. Unlike the colourful flower fields closer to your cottage, this meadow is filled almost entirely with tall silver grass that glows softly beneath the moonlight. Whenever the evening breeze passes across it, the entire landscape ripples in slow, graceful waves from one horizon to the other. Watching it always reminds you of calm, ocean water rolling gently beneath a cloudless sky. There is something deeply peaceful about standing still and simply observing those endless waves of grass rising and falling together without hurry, without purpose, beyond existing exactly as they are. You wander into the meadow, allowing the tall grass to brush softly against your legs as you walk. Somewhere hidden among the stems, countless tiny crickets continue their slow evening songs. Their gentle chorus rises and falls with such perfect rhythm that it almost feels like the valley itself is quietly humming a lullaby beneath the stars. The moon hangs high above, round and luminous, bathing everything in soft silver light. Looking across the meadow, you notice hundreds of tiny spiderwebs stretched delicately between the grasses. Each one is decorated with perfect rows of tiny dewdrops that sparkle like strings of miniature pearls. As the breeze moves gently through the meadow, every web sways almost imperceptibly, scattering little flashes of reflected moonlight in every direction. It is one of those quiet little wonders that many people would walk straight past without ever noticing, but you have always believed that the smallest beauties often ask only one thing in return for revealing themselves: patience. You stop walking completely and simply watch the meadow for several peaceful minutes. Nothing dramatic happens, nothing needs to. A gentle breeze arrives, the silver grass bows together, the dew catches the moonlight. Somewhere overhead a shooting star glides silently across the heavens before disappearing beyond the distant hills. You smile softly, not because another star has fallen into your valley, but because you know the difference. Shooting stars belong to the great sky above. Fallen stars are quieter. They drift gently downward only when carrying forgotten dreams that need a little kindness before finding their way home again. As though responding to your very thoughts, the crystal lantern resting in your hand gives another slow pulse, then another. Its silver glow becomes ever so slightly brighter, casting a soft circle of light across the swaying grass. You lift it gently and notice the familiar warmth spreading through the handle beneath your fingers. Somewhere nearby, hidden among the endless silver meadow, another tiny piece of the night sky is waiting with quiet patience. You smile, take one slow breath of the cool, fragrant air, and continue your gentle walk beneath the countless stars, knowing that somewhere just beyond the softly waving grass, another peaceful little dream is patiently waiting to be carried home before the first colours of dawn begin to touch the sleeping world. You slow your footsteps until they become almost impossible to hear, allowing the endless sea of silver grass to move around you without interruption. Every gentle wave created by the evening breeze rolls peacefully across the meadow before fading into the distant hills, only to be followed by another moments later. It is almost hypnotic to watch. If someone remained here long enough, they might lose all sense of time, unable to tell whether 10 minutes or several quiet hours had slipped gently by beneath the stars. Perhaps that is why the fairies rarely count the hours during their nightly walks. The moon rises, the stars shine, the breeze wanders wherever it pleases. Eventually, dawn arrives. That has always been enough. Your crystal lantern continues its slow, steady pulse, each gentle glow lasting only a heartbeat before fading once again into its peaceful silver light. You have learned not to search with your eyes alone. The lantern may guide your direction, but your heart has become just as reliable over the centuries. Sometimes a fallen star seems almost to call without making a sound, inviting you closer through nothing more than a quiet feeling that you have reached exactly the place where you are meant to be. Tonight, that feeling slowly grows stronger. You leave the stone path behind and wander deeper into the meadow where the grasses rise almost to your shoulders. Tiny white feathers drift lazily through the air around you. They come from the great moon doves that nest somewhere among the western cliffs. Every evening, a few feathers find their way into the valley, floating gently upon the breeze until they finally settle among the flowers and grasses below. One feather lands softly upon your sleeve. You lift it carefully, smiling at how light it feels, then allow the breeze to carry it onward once again. Everything in the valley seems happiest when allowed to continue its own quiet journey. Before long, you notice a single old oak standing completely alone in the middle of the vast meadow. It is the only tree for what feels like miles, its broad branches spreading outward in every direction like the roof of a peaceful little shelter. Generations of travelers have rested beneath its shade during warm summer afternoons, while birds have built tiny nests among its branches every spring for longer than anyone remembers. Even from a distance, the old oak seems welcoming, standing patiently beneath the moon as though expecting quiet visitors. You make your way toward it without haste. The lantern grows warmer in your hand with every step. When you finally reach the great tree, you notice a small wooden swing hanging from one of its strongest branches. It moves ever so gently, although the breeze has become almost completely still. You smile as familiar memories quietly return. Long ago, young fairies loved gathering here before beginning their own lessons beneath the stars. They would take turns sitting upon the little swing while listening to gentle stories told by the oldest teachers in the valley. The lessons were never about magic alone. They were about patience, kindness, listening more than speaking, walking slowly enough to notice the smallest flower opening beneath the moon, remembering that even the tiniest creature deserved gentle footsteps. You often visited this tree when you were very young yourself. Although hundreds of peaceful years have passed since then, the little swing still hangs exactly where it always has. Carefully, you brush away a few silver leaves resting upon its wooden seat before giving it the gentlest push. It sways forward almost silently before slowly drifting back again. The sight fills you with a quiet warmth. Some places never lose the gentle memories left behind by those who once visited them. You continue around the wide trunk until you reach the far side of the tree where the moonlight falls more softly beneath the branches. Here the grass grows shorter, covered with tiny blue flowers whose petals remain closed during the day but slowly bloom whenever the moon climbs high into the sky. Thousands of them surround the roots like a peaceful carpet woven from starlight itself. Your lantern suddenly shines brighter than at any moment since leaving your cottage. Its soft silver glow spreads gently across the flowers until one tiny patch begins glowing with a delicate light of its own. You kneel slowly, careful not to disturb a sleeping ladybird resting peacefully upon a nearby leaf. Hidden beneath the blue blossoms lies another little fallen star. This one is unlike the others you have found tonight. Instead of glowing with warm gold or gentle amber, it shines with the palest shade of blue, almost the same color as the quiet sky just before dawn begins. Its light is cool, calm, and wonderfully soothing, like moonlight resting upon fresh snow or the peaceful reflection of stars floating across a still lake. For several moments, you simply admire its quiet beauty. Every star carries a different feeling. This one seems filled with peaceful dreams, the kind that arrive after long evenings spent listening to rain tapping softly against a window or watching clouds drift lazily across a summer sky. You gently place the lantern upon the grass. Once again, the crystal doors unfold like delicate flower petals opening beneath the moon. A soft ribbon of silver light reaches toward the little blue star with patient kindness. The tiny traveler remains still for a moment, almost as though taking one final peaceful look at the meadow that sheltered it through the night. Then, with graceful slowness, it begins to rise. It floats upward through the cool evening air so gently that the surrounding flower petals barely move. As it enters the lantern, the silver glow inside welcomes it without a sound. Now 3 tiny stars rest together within the crystal glass, gold, amber, and pale blue. Their lights weave quietly around one another, creating delicate patterns that drift across the inside of the lantern like slow-moving ribbons dancing beneath calm water. Holding the lantern close, you notice that its gentle warmth has grown just a little stronger, not because of heat, but because every forgotten dream collected along the way seems to fill it with a deeper sense of quiet comfort. You close the little crystal doors and remain beneath the old oak for a while longer, listening as the swing behind you continues its slow, peaceful motion. Somewhere high above, leaves whisper softly together beneath the moonlight. A tiny owl chick peeks sleepily from its nest before tucking its head beneath one wing once again. The whole meadow seems wrapped in perfect stillness, as though the world itself has paused to rest for a little while. Eventually, you lift your eyes toward the eastern horizon. The sky remains wonderfully dark, yet if you look very carefully, you can almost imagine the faintest hint of tomorrow resting far beyond the distant hills. Dawn is still many peaceful hours away, leaving plenty of time for your quiet journey to continue. With 3 little stars now safely traveling beside you and countless more still scattered gently across the hidden valley, you step away from the ancient oak and continue along the moonlit meadow, where the soft whisper of silver grass accompanies every slow footstep beneath the endless peaceful sky. You continue across the meadow of quiet wishes at the same gentle pace, never feeling the need to hurry simply because more stars remain to be found. The valley has always taught you that every journey unfolds exactly as it should. If a fallen star waits another few peaceful minutes beneath the moonlight, it never seems to mind. In fact, you sometimes wonder whether the little stars enjoy resting upon the earth for a while, listening to the wind through the grasses and watching the slow dance of fireflies before beginning the long journey back to the heavens. It is a comforting thought, and one that always encourages you to slow your own footsteps even further. The crystal lantern resting comfortably in your hand now carries 3 tiny lights that shine together like old friends enjoying one another's quiet company. Their gentle glow is bright enough to paint soft silver patterns across the path ahead, but never so bright that it steals the beauty of the moonlit night surrounding you. The stars have always preferred gentle light. Harsh brightness belongs to daylight. Night asks for something softer, something kinder to tired eyes and peaceful minds. As you walk, the meadow gradually begins to slope downward toward a quiet valley where countless little streams weave gracefully through the grass like ribbons of polished glass. From where you stand, each stream reflects the moon so perfectly that they resemble long silver threads stitched carefully across the sleeping landscape. Tiny wooden footbridges arch gently over the narrow waterways, each one built by fairy craftsmen many centuries ago. None of them are exactly alike. Some are carved with tiny flowers, others are decorated with little stars, curling vines, or delicate birds whose wings seem ready to lift from the wood at any moment. Every bridge tells its own silent story through patient craftsmanship rather than words. You choose the smallest bridge, its smooth cedar planks warmed ever so slightly by the gentle magic woven into the valley long ago. As you step onto it, you pause halfway across and rest both hands upon the polished railing. Below you, the water flows so slowly that individual leaves drifting downstream hardly seem to move at all. One pale maple leaf glides quietly beneath the bridge before continuing its unhurried journey toward a distant pond hidden somewhere beyond the hills. You follow it with your eyes until it disappears into the silver reflections. Sometimes you imagine where those little leaves eventually come to rest, perhaps beneath the roots of an old willow tree, perhaps beside a quiet waterfall, or perhaps they simply continue floating forever through peaceful places no fairy has yet discovered. A cool breeze brushes gently across the water, carrying with it the delicate fragrance of water lilies growing farther downstream. Mixed with the scent comes another familiar sound, wind chimes, very soft. So soft that at first you almost mistake them for distant bird song. You smile immediately because you know exactly where the sound comes from. Not far beyond the little bridges stands a tiny cottage belonging to an elderly fairy named Elian. Every evening before settling down to sleep, he hangs dozens of crystal chimes outside his little home. Whenever the gentlest breeze wanders through the valley, the chimes sing together in quiet harmony, never loudly, never sharply, but with the softest voices imaginable. You have often wondered whether the valley itself sleeps more peacefully because of those little melodies. Although your nightly journeys rarely require you to visit his cottage, you always enjoy passing nearby simply to hear the music drifting through the darkness. As you leave the bridge behind, the gentle chiming becomes a little clearer. Soon the tiny cottage appears between clusters of flowering bushes. Its windows glow with warm golden light, spilling gently across a little garden filled with lavender, rosemary, and tiny white roses climbing around a weathered stone fence. Smoke curls lazily from a short chimney before disappearing into the cool night sky. The whole cottage looks wonderfully cozy, as though it has been waiting quietly beneath the stars for hundreds of peaceful years. Outside the front door sits an old wooden rocking chair that moves very slowly all by itself. It has always done so. Some believe the evening breeze rocks it gently. Others quietly say the chair simply remembers every peaceful evening spent there and continues swaying long after its owner has gone inside. You never ask which story is true. Both feel equally comforting. Just as you pass the little garden gate, the cottage door opens slowly without making a sound. Elian steps outside carrying a tiny lantern no larger than an apple. His snowy white beard reaches almost to his waist, and his pale blue robe drifts gently around his feet as he walks. Though his face carries the countless gentle lines of great age, his eyes remain bright and kind, reflecting the moon with quiet warmth. He notices you immediately, and smiles with the familiar expression of someone greeting an old friend after another peaceful evening. "Another beautiful night for walking," he says softly, his voice no louder than the breeze moving through the lavender. You return his smile and incline your head ever so slightly. "Every night seems beautiful when the valley is this peaceful," you reply. Elian chuckles quietly, the warm sound blending naturally with the delicate music of his crystal chimes. "That is because you still remember how to notice it," he says. Many spend their whole lives searching for extraordinary things while walking straight past the ordinary miracles waiting beneath every moonlit leaf. His words linger gently in the still night air. You know he is right. The valley has never dazzled you with grand spectacles or endless excitement. Instead, it has quietly shared simple gifts evening after evening. The reflection of stars upon still water, the fragrance of flowers opening after sunset, the patient flight of an owl crossing the moon, a feather drifting silently through the air, a single drop of dew resting upon a blade of grass. Tiny moments that many would never even notice, yet together they create a peace deeper than any great adventure ever could. Elian glances toward the softly glowing lantern resting in your hand. Through the clear crystal he sees the 3 tiny stars travelling peacefully together. His smile grows a little warmer. "They look happy," he whispers. You lower your eyes toward the lantern. The little lights continue their slow, graceful dance, weaving around one another like gentle ribbons floating through calm water. "They've had a peaceful journey so far," you answer quietly. The old fairy nods with quiet satisfaction before reaching into the pocket of his robe. From within, he carefully removes a tiny cloth pouch tied with a silver thread. Opening it slowly, he reveals several dried moon blossoms whose pale petals shimmer faintly beneath the stars. "For your lantern," he says. "Their fragrance helps tired little stars rest more comfortably before dawn." You accept the delicate flowers with sincere gratitude. As soon as you place them gently inside the lantern, a faint, sweet fragrance rises into the cool evening air, carrying hints of vanilla, jasmine, and fresh spring rain. The 3 little stars seem to glow just a little more softly, almost as though settling deeper into peaceful sleep. Elian smiles once more before giving a small wave. "The night is still young," he says kindly. "There are many quiet dreams waiting for you beyond the eastern hills." You thank him warmly, listen to the crystal chimes sing one last gentle melody as the breeze passes through them, and continue your slow journey beneath the moon, carrying not only 3 little fallen stars, but also the comforting reminder that sometimes the greatest magic in the world is simply taking enough time to notice how wonderfully peaceful it has always been. Leaving Elian's little cottage behind, You follow the narrow trail that gently curves eastward between low hills covered with soft heather and tiny wildflowers. Before long, the delicate music of the crystal wind chimes becomes quieter and quieter until it blends completely into the peaceful sounds of the valley. Even then, it almost feels as though the melody continues somewhere inside your memory, quietly accompanying each gentle step you take beneath the moonlit sky. The little pouch of dried moon blossoms now rests inside your crystal lantern beside the three sleeping stars. Their sweet fragrance drifts softly through the cool night air, and every now and then you notice one of the tiny stars giving a slow, contented shimmer, almost as if it were smiling in its sleep. You cannot help smiling back. There is something wonderfully comforting about knowing that even the smallest lights in the universe enjoy a little kindness during their journey home. The trail gradually climbs toward one of the highest hills in the hidden valley. It is not a difficult climb. The path rises so gently that you hardly notice it at all, winding peacefully through fields of soft white clover where hundreds of tiny moths drift lazily between the blossoms. Unlike butterflies that dance through the warm daylight, these moon moths seem to float rather than fly, moving so slowly that they almost resemble little pieces of cloud carried by an invisible breeze. Their wings shimmer with delicate shades of pearl and silver whenever they cross the moonlight, creating tiny flashes that disappear almost as quickly as they appear. You pause for a few moments to watch them. There is no destination demanding your attention, no clock reminding you to move faster, only the quiet joy of observing another peaceful corner of the valley as it gently lives out another beautiful night. Eventually, you continue upward until you reach the top of the hill. As always, the view quietly steals your breath away. From here, the entire hidden valley stretches endlessly in every direction. Rivers glisten like polished ribbons of silver. Forests rest peacefully beneath soft blankets of moonlight. Tiny cottages glow with warm golden windows scattered gently among the hills. Wisps of mist drift lazily across distant meadows, while countless stars fill the sky above with quiet, steady light. It is impossible to stand here without feeling wonderfully small, yet never lonely. Somehow the valley always reminds you that being small does not mean being insignificant. A single flower can fill the evening with fragrance. A tiny stream can sing all through the night. One little lantern can carry forgotten stars back to the heavens. Even the gentlest kindness can travel farther than anyone ever imagines. Near the highest point of the hill stands an old wooden telescope. It has been there for longer than any fairy can remember. Although it points toward the stars every evening, no one ever uses it to search for distant worlds. Instead, it serves as a quiet reminder to always look upward now and then, to remember that the sky above is just as much a part of home as the valley below. You gently place one hand upon the polished wood before lifting your eyes toward the heavens. The stars appear brighter than ever from this peaceful hilltop. Some twinkle softly, others shine with calm, unwavering light. Between them stretches the deep velvet darkness of the night, never empty, never frightening, but wonderfully peaceful, like the quiet spaces between the notes of a beautiful melody. While you stand there admiring the sky, something catches your attention. Far above, almost hidden among the countless stars, a tiny flock of celestial swans glides silently across the heavens. They appear only a few nights each year, traveling so high above the valley that many creatures never notice them at all. Their feathers glow with the softest silver light, and their enormous wings move so slowly that they seem almost effortless. They fly together in perfect harmony without making the slightest sound. You watch them cross the sky until they disappear beyond the western mountains, leaving behind nothing except a quiet feeling of wonder. Every time you see them, you find yourself smiling for the rest of the evening. Your lantern gives another gentle pulse, then another. This one feels different, not brighter, not warmer, simply farther away. You recognize the feeling immediately. The next fallen star is not nearby. It rests somewhere beyond the hill, perhaps deep within another peaceful corner of the valley that you have not visited for several evenings. That thought fills you with quiet anticipation rather than impatience. Every new path offers another opportunity to discover familiar places from slightly different perspectives. Turning away from the telescope, you begin descending the opposite side of the hill. Here the landscape changes once again. Instead of open meadows, gentle orchards stretch across the lower slopes. Rows of ancient apple trees stand peacefully beneath the moonlight, their branches heavy with pale golden fruit that glows softly like tiny lanterns among the leaves. During the daytime, birds happily feast upon the fallen apples scattered across the grass. At night, however, the orchard belongs to silence. A faint fragrance of ripe fruit, fresh blossoms, and cool earth drifts through the still air, creating one of the sweetest scents anywhere in the valley. Tiny hedgehogs wander quietly between the trees, searching for fallen apples, while sleepy robins tuck themselves comfortably among the branches above. The orchard always feels wonderfully welcoming, as though every tree quietly invites travelers to slow down just a little more. Halfway through the orchard, you notice an old wooden ladder leaning against one of the oldest apple trees. A woven basket hangs from one of its branches, still half filled with freshly picked fruit from the previous evening. No one worries about leaving it there. Nothing in the valley is ever stolen. Tomorrow, or perhaps the night after, whoever left the basket will quietly return to collect it. Until then, the apples simply rest beneath the moonlight, filling the orchard with their gentle fragrance. You continue along the little grassy path, winding between the trees, until the orchard gradually begins to fade behind you. Ahead, the land dips gently toward a quiet valley wrapped in pale silver mist. Somewhere beyond that mist, hidden beneath another peaceful stretch of moonlit sky, your lantern continues to lead you onward with its calm, steady glow. Another little fallen star waits patiently in the darkness, never worrying how long it will take you to arrive, because in this quiet, hidden world, every gentle journey always unfolds exactly when it is meant to. The gentle orchard slowly disappears behind you as the last of the apple trees fade into the silver mist. Soon the little grassy path becomes narrower, winding quietly between clusters of smooth white stones that have rested here for so many centuries that even the softest rain has polished their surfaces until they glow faintly beneath the moonlight. Your footsteps remain completely silent upon the moss-covered earth, while the crystal lantern beside you continues its calm, steady rhythm. The three tiny stars resting safely inside appear wonderfully peaceful now. Their lights rise and fall together so gently that they almost resemble three sleeping hearts sharing the same quiet dream. Occasionally one releases a tiny sparkle that drifts lazily around the inside of the lantern before fading into the silver glow once again. You always enjoy watching those tiny lights dance. Somehow they remind you that even forgotten dreams remain beautiful while waiting to find their way home. Before long, the mist ahead begins to part little by little, revealing the outline of a long stone pathway stretching toward the eastern edge of the valley. Unlike the natural trails you usually follow, this path was carefully built many generations ago from thousands of smooth river stones placed together with remarkable patience. Tiny patches of emerald moss now grow comfortably between every stone, softening the pathway until it seems almost woven into the landscape itself. Along both sides stand graceful lantern posts carved from pale white birch. None of them hold flames. Instead, each lantern contains a single moon pearl that quietly absorbs silver light from the night sky before gently sharing it with the path below. Their glow is wonderfully delicate, creating little pools of soft light separated by peaceful stretches of shadow. Walking here has always felt like moving through a dream where every step leads gently into another moment of quiet beauty. As you continue along the stone path, you notice dozens of tiny glass bottles hanging from the branches of nearby trees with thin silver ribbons. They sway ever so gently whenever the breeze passes through, catching the moonlight and scattering tiny reflections across the grass below. Long ago, young fairies placed these little bottles here after hearing an old legend. They believed that every gentle breeze carried beautiful sounds that disappeared before anyone could truly appreciate them. By hanging empty bottles beneath the branches, they hoped to catch a few of those forgotten melodies. Of course, the bottles never actually trapped the wind, but whenever the breeze wandered through them, each one produced the faintest little hum, creating a peaceful chorus that blended perfectly with the sounds of the valley. Tonight, the breeze is wonderfully gentle. As you walk beneath the trees, the bottles begin singing together in soft crystal voices. None of the notes are loud, none compete with one another. Instead, they rise and fall like quiet breathing, filling the moonlit pathway with music so gentle that you instinctively slow your pace even further, simply to enjoy it. You find yourself smiling without even realizing it. Some evenings you collect only a few fallen stars, yet still return home feeling that the valley has given you far more than you could ever give in return. The peaceful music gradually follows you until the path reaches a small hill overlooking a perfectly round lake hidden within the mist. You have visited this lake countless times, yet every single visit somehow feels different. The water is so remarkably still that it reflects the entire night sky with astonishing clarity. Looking down into it often feels less like gazing at a lake and more like looking through a doorway into another peaceful universe resting beneath your feet. Tiny reeds line the shore, their slender stems barely moving in the cool evening air. White lilies float quietly across the water, each blossom opened wide beneath the moon as though welcoming its gentle light. Near the edge of the lake sits a tiny wooden pier extending only a short distance over the calm water. It is one of the simplest places in the valley, yet perhaps one of the most peaceful. You step onto the weathered wooden boards and slowly make your way to the very end. There you gently lower yourself onto the edge, allowing your feet to dangle comfortably above the still surface below. The lantern rests beside you, casting a warm silver reflection that joins the moon upon the glass-like water. For several long, peaceful minutes you do absolutely nothing at all. You simply breathe. Above you, countless stars shimmer quietly across the heavens. Below you, those very same stars shimmer once again upon the lake. Somewhere behind you, the crystal bottles continue their distant, gentle melody whenever the breeze drifts through the trees. A family of ducks sleeps peacefully among the reeds, their heads tucked comfortably beneath their wings. Occasionally, a tiny fish creates a single perfect ripple before the lake becomes completely still once again. These quiet pauses have become one of your favorite parts of every nightly journey. Collecting fallen stars is important, but so is remembering to appreciate the beautiful world that patiently waits between each discovery. You have often wondered whether that is the true lesson hidden within your work. Perhaps the stars do not fall only because someone forgot a dream. Perhaps they also fall to encourage someone else to slow down long enough to notice everything that remains quietly beautiful around them. The thought settles gently in your heart as you continue watching the peaceful reflections upon the water. After a while, your lantern gives another slow pulse, then another. The glow becomes slightly stronger than before, but this time it does something unusual. Instead of pointing toward the forest, the hills, or another winding path, its silver light gently reflects across the surface of the lake itself, creating a narrow, shimmering line stretching toward the opposite shore where the mist hangs thickest beneath a circle of ancient willow trees. You have never seen the lantern guide you quite like this before. Curious but never hurried, you rise slowly to your feet and look across the perfectly calm water. Somewhere beyond those graceful willows, hidden within the quiet silver mist, Another tiny fallen star waits patiently beneath the endless night, its gentle light too soft for ordinary eyes to notice, yet impossible for your faithful little lantern to ever forget. You stand quietly at the end of the little wooden pier for a long while, allowing your eyes to follow the narrow ribbon of silver light stretching across the lake. It rests perfectly upon the still water, almost as though the moon itself has gently painted a pathway leading toward the distant willow trees. You have crossed this lake many times before, but never in quite this way. Usually your lantern guides you along winding forest trails or peaceful meadows. Tonight, however, it seems to be asking you to trust the quiet water instead. There is something comforting about that thought. Water has always known how to find its way home without rushing, and perhaps forgotten stars understand that gentle wisdom better than anyone else. Near the edge of the pier, tied loosely to a weathered wooden post, rests a tiny rowboat, no larger than a garden bench. Its smooth cedar sides have faded to a beautiful silvery grey after countless peaceful seasons beneath the sun and moon. You smile the moment you see it. The little boat has been waiting here every evening for as long as you can remember. No one owns it. No one ever repairs it, yet somehow it always remains in perfect condition, gently rising and falling with the quiet breathing of the lake. Many old fairies believe the boat simply enjoys helping anyone who wishes to travel peacefully across the water. Others smile and say the lake itself quietly builds a new one whenever the old one grows tired. You have never asked which story is true. In the hidden valley, not every mystery needs an answer. Some are simply meant to make the world feel a little more magical. You carefully untie the soft rope and step into the little boat. It barely rocks beneath your weight before settling once again into perfect stillness. There are two slender wooden oars resting neatly inside, though you rarely need them. The lake is unusually kind to quiet travelers. More often than not, a gentle breeze slowly carries the little boat exactly where it needs to go. You place your crystal lantern near the bow where its peaceful glow reflects across the polished wood, then settle comfortably upon the little seat. For a few silent moments, nothing happens at all. Then, almost imperceptibly, the boat begins to drift away from the pier. No splash breaks the water, no wave follows behind. The lake simply welcomes you, carrying you forward with remarkable gentleness. The surface remains so calm that the reflection of the stars barely trembles as you pass. Looking over the side of the boat, it becomes impossible to tell where the sky ends and the water begins. It almost feels as though you are floating through the heavens themselves, surrounded above and below by endless constellations glowing peacefully in the darkness. The cool night air brushes softly across your face, carrying the delicate fragrance of water lilies drifting somewhere nearby. Tiny dragonflies with transparent silver wings skim silently across the lake, leaving only the faintest ripples behind before disappearing once again into the mist. Occasionally, one pauses upon the tip of a lily pad, remaining perfectly still for several long moments before continuing its graceful journey. You watch each little movement with quiet fascination. There is no spectacle here, no excitement demanding your attention, only hundreds of tiny, peaceful moments gently unfolding one after another. Somewhere in the distance, a pair of swans glide silently through the mist. Their white feathers seem almost luminous beneath the moonlight, and their reflections move across the water as smoothly as the birds themselves. They never appear hurried. They never seem to waste a single movement. You have often admired the quiet elegance with which they travel, wondering whether they have discovered some secret rhythm hidden deep within the lake itself. For a little while, you simply allow the boat to drift while listening to the soft sounds surrounding you. Water gently kisses the wooden hull with delicate little whispers. A fish rises briefly somewhere nearby before slipping silently beneath the surface once more. The distant call of a night bird echoes softly across the valley before fading into peaceful silence. Even your own breathing gradually slows until it seems to match the gentle rhythm of the drifting boat. The lantern beside you glows with calm silver light, while the three tiny stars inside continue resting peacefully among the fragrant moon blossoms. Their little lights have become wonderfully steady now, almost as though they have fallen asleep during the journey. You find yourself whispering, "Sleep peacefully, little travellers. Dawn is still far away." Of course, they offer no reply beyond the quiet shimmer of their gentle light, but somehow you feel certain they understand. Halfway across the lake, something catches your attention. The water immediately ahead begins glowing with thousands of tiny blue lights beneath the surface. At first, you think they might simply be reflections of the stars above, but as the boat glides closer, you realize they are something entirely different. Tiny moon lilies have opened beneath the water itself. Their delicate blossoms bloom only a few inches below the surface, filling the lake with soft blue light that slowly pulses like peaceful breathing. As the boat passes over them, the entire lake seems to glow from within, transforming the dark water into a gentle sea of floating stars. You cannot help slowing your breathing even further as you admire the quiet beauty surrounding you. The little flowers do not bloom every night. In fact, some years you see them only once or twice. Their appearance always feels like a quiet gift from the valley, offered without announcement to anyone patient enough to be traveling at exactly the right moment. You remain completely still, unwilling to disturb even a single blossom beneath the boat. Eventually, the glowing lilies begin to fade behind you, and once again the lake returns to its familiar silver reflections. Ahead, the ancient willow trees gradually emerge from the mist. Their long, graceful branches trail gently across the water, creating delicate circles that spread outward before disappearing into perfect stillness once again. Beneath those quiet trees, the silver ribbon cast by your lantern grows brighter and brighter. You know you are close now, very close. Yet even now, there is no urgency in your heart. The little fallen star has waited patiently all night beneath the shelter of the willow branches. It will happily wait another peaceful minute or two while you quietly admire the gentle beauty of the journey that has carried you here. As the little boat glides silently toward the moonlit shore, you feel a quiet sense of gratitude settle gently within you. Every evening begins with the simple task of returning forgotten stars to the heavens. Yet every night somehow becomes something much greater, a slow, peaceful reminder that the world is filled with quiet wonders waiting patiently for those willing to move gently enough to notice them. Somewhere beneath the graceful curtain of willow branches, another tiny piece of the night sky is resting peacefully upon the earth, its soft light hidden from everyone except the little fairy, whose calm lantern has finally led the way home. The little boat finally reaches the willow shore with barely a whisper. Instead of striking the land, it simply slows until it comes to a gentle stop beside a patch of soft emerald moss, as though the lake itself has carefully guided you to exactly the right place. You step onto the quiet bank, feeling the cool earth beneath your feet, then turn for a brief moment to secure the little rope around a smooth wooden post hidden beneath the hanging branches. The boat settles peacefully upon the still water, rocking only once before becoming perfectly motionless again. You smile softly. It seems content to wait here until your journey through the willow grove is complete. Above you, the ancient willow trees spread their graceful branches like enormous green curtains woven from moonlight and silver leaves. Long ribbons of delicate foliage drift almost to the ground, moving with the gentlest rhythm whenever the night breeze wanders through them. Every leaf catches the moonlight differently. Some glow pale silver, others shimmer with faint hints of blue or soft green. Together they create the impression of standing inside a quiet room built entirely from living light. You have always loved this place. Among all the peaceful corners of the hidden valley, the willow sanctuary feels the gentlest of all. Even the air seems softer here. Every sound arrives wrapped in calm. Every breath carries the fresh scent of cool water, damp moss, and young willow leaves kissed by the evening dew. The lantern in your hand grows quietly warmer, not brighter, simply warmer, as though it recognizes this place as much as you do. The three little stars resting inside remain peacefully asleep among the fragrant moon blossoms, their delicate lights glowing with slow, comforting rhythm. You gently lift the lantern closer, watching tiny reflections dance across its crystal walls. It occurs to you that the lantern itself has travelled beside countless keepers of fallen stars through countless peaceful nights. Long before you were born, another fairy must have carried this same gentle light beneath these very same branches. Perhaps one evening, hundreds of years from now, another quiet soul will continue the journey after you. The thought fills you with comfort rather than sadness. Some beautiful traditions never truly belong to one person. They simply continue, gently passing from one kind heart to the next. You begin following a narrow path that winds between the ancient willow trunks. The ground here is unlike anywhere else in the valley. Thick velvet moss cushions every step, while tiny white clover flowers bloom in perfect little circles wherever moonlight reaches the forest floor. Between the roots, delicate ferns slowly unfurl their leaves as though stretching after a long, peaceful sleep. Tiny streams weave quietly through the sanctuary, crossing beneath little stone bridges, no wider than a single step before disappearing beneath carpets of moss once again. You notice that the lantern no longer pulses every few moments. Instead, its silver glow remains wonderfully steady, almost as though it has already found what it has been searching for and now simply wishes to lead you there with calm certainty. There is no longer any need to wonder which direction to choose. Your feet seem to know the way without thought. You continue deeper beneath the willow canopy until you arrive at a clearing unlike any you have seen before. The hanging branches open just enough for the moonlight to pour gently into the center, where a perfectly circular pond rests without the slightest ripple upon its surface. The water is astonishingly clear. Looking into it, you can see smooth white stones resting peacefully upon the bottom, each surrounded by delicate strands of emerald watergrass that sway almost imperceptibly beneath the still surface. Around the pond grow dozens of pale white lilies whose petals appear almost transparent beneath the moonlight. Their fragrance fills the clearing with a sweetness so gentle that it seems impossible to describe. You set the lantern carefully upon a smooth stone beside the pond and simply stand there for a little while. There is something about this quiet place that invites stillness. The willow branches sway overhead with slow, graceful movements. Tiny drops of dew occasionally fall from their leaves into the pond below, creating perfect circles that spread silently across the glass-like water before disappearing completely. Somewhere high above, hidden among the branches, a sleepy bird quietly adjusts its feathers before settling comfortably once more. Everything feels wonderfully unhurried. Eventually, your attention is drawn toward the very center of the pond. At first you notice only a faint shimmer beneath the surface. Then, little by little, a tiny point of light begins to reveal itself. Unlike the stars you discovered among flowers, beneath trees, or hidden within quiet meadows, this little traveller rests beneath the water itself. Its glow shines softly through the clear pond, bathing the smooth white stones around it in delicate silver light. It is breathtakingly beautiful. You kneel slowly beside the water's edge, careful not to disturb the peaceful reflections surrounding you. The tiny star seems almost to be dreaming beneath the surface, its light rising and falling with extraordinary gentleness. You cannot help wondering what quiet dream it carries. Perhaps it once belonged to someone who wished only for peaceful evenings beside calm water. Perhaps it carries the memory of listening to rain while safely indoors, wrapped beneath a warm blanket with a favorite book. Or perhaps it simply holds the quiet hope that somewhere, somehow, every tired heart might one day find a place as peaceful as this sanctuary beneath the willow trees. As always, you do not need to know. Every dream deserves kindness, whether its story is understood or not. You gently place both hands around your lantern. The crystal flower doors slowly begin unfolding one graceful petal at a time until the soft silver light inside spills gently across the still pond. This time the invitation is even quieter than before. The little star beneath the water remains perfectly still for several long moments. Then the pond itself seems to help. Without a splash, without a ripple stronger than a whisper, the tiny star slowly rises through the crystal clear water. It passes between the stems of the lilies, drifting upward through the moonlit reflections until it reaches the surface. For one magical moment it rests there like a tiny pearl floating upon the water. Then, lighter than the softest feather, it lifts gracefully into the cool night air. Tiny drops of water sparkle around it like miniature diamonds before quietly falling back into the pond. The little silver star glides peacefully into the waiting lantern, joining its three gentle companions. For a brief moment, the crystal lantern fills with a breathtaking harmony of light. Warm gold, soft amber, pale blue, gentle silver. The four tiny stars weave together in slow, graceful circles, their peaceful glow illuminating the clearing with the quiet warmth of a beautiful dream. You close the crystal doors once again and hold the lantern close to your heart. It feels just a little heavier now, not because of weight, but because it carries four forgotten dreams safely homeward beneath the endless moonlit sky. Around you, the willow sanctuary returns to its gentle silence as though nothing extraordinary has happened at all. The lilies continue blooming, the willow branches continue swaying, the tiny streams continue their quiet journey through the moss. It reminds you once again that true magic never asks for applause. It simply becomes another peaceful part of the night, quietly waiting for anyone patient enough to notice it. You remain beside the quiet pond long after the fourth little star has settled peacefully inside your lantern. There is never any desire to leave immediately after finding a fallen star. Somehow it has always felt respectful to linger for a little while, allowing the place that so patiently protected the tiny light to return gently to its ordinary rhythm. The circular ripples upon the pond slowly become smaller and smaller until the water is perfectly still once again. The reflection of the moon quietly returns, as though nothing had disturbed its peaceful surface at all. Above you, the graceful willow branches continue their slow dance beneath the night breeze, their silver leaves brushing softly against one another with a sound so delicate that it almost resembles someone gently turning the pages of an old storybook. You close your eyes for a brief moment and simply listen. Somewhere nearby, water trickles lazily over smooth stones before disappearing beneath a carpet of moss. A tiny nightbird gives a single sleepy chirp before settling into silence once again. Far away, almost too distant to hear, the waterfall beyond the western hills continues its endless conversation with the valley, its gentle voice softened by the miles between you until it becomes little more than a comforting whisper resting beneath every other sound. There are evenings when you wonder whether the valley itself is quietly singing, not with words nor with melodies anyone could write upon paper, but with the countless tiny sounds that together create something far more peaceful than silence alone. You slowly lift the lantern and notice the four little stars resting comfortably together among the fragrant moon blossoms. Their lights no longer circle around one another as they did when the newest traveller first arrived. Instead, they seem to have settled into a gentle harmony, glowing with calm, steady warmth that fills the crystal lantern from top to bottom. Looking at them always reminds you of the windows of cozy cottages scattered across the valley, each one glowing quietly beneath the moon while everyone inside enjoys peaceful dreams. It comforts you to imagine that forgotten hopes, once gathered together with kindness, become less lonely than they ever were alone. As you begin walking once more, the narrow moss-covered path leads you deeper into the willow sanctuary than you have travelled for many peaceful evenings. The trees gradually become older, their enormous trunks twisting gracefully toward the heavens, while their hanging branches nearly touch the earth. Some are so ancient that tiny wildflowers have begun blooming directly from the folds of their bark, creating little gardens suspended several feet above the ground. Others shelter tiny pools of crystal-clear rainwater within their roots, where sleepy frogs rest quietly beneath floating leaves. Every few steps reveals another little wonder patiently waiting to be noticed. You smile to yourself. If someone hurried through this place, they might believe it to be only another quiet forest. Yet by walking slowly, you discover countless beautiful details that seem to reveal themselves only to patient eyes. A spiderweb decorated with perfect circles of dew, a feather resting gently upon a patch of moss without disturbing even a single leaf, a family of tiny field mice sleeping together beneath the shelter of a fern, their little noses rising and falling with slow, peaceful breaths. These small moments have become your favorite companions throughout the night. They ask nothing of you except that you notice them. Eventually, the trees begin to thin once again until you reach the far side of the sanctuary, where the land gently rises into another quiet hillside. Here you pause, turning for one last look beneath the hanging willow branches. The sanctuary rests peacefully behind you, wrapped in silver mist and moonlight, looking almost as though it belongs to another world entirely. You quietly bow your head in gratitude before continuing onward. Beyond the hillside stretches a wide field, unlike any other in the valley. Instead of flowers or tall grasses, it is covered entirely with soft white clover stretching all the way to the distant horizon. Under the moonlight, the blossoms shimmer like fresh snow, creating the illusion that the hillside has been wrapped in a delicate white blanket. Tiny bees sleep peacefully inside many of the blossoms, their little bodies completely hidden until the warmth of morning encourages them to continue their gentle work. You step carefully through the field, making certain not to disturb a single flower. The fragrance here is wonderfully light, carrying hints of honey, fresh grass, and cool night air. A gentle breeze drifts across the hillside, causing the sea of clover blossoms to sway together in slow, graceful waves. Watching them move, you cannot help slowing your own breathing until it quietly matches their peaceful rhythm. Your lantern remains calm. For the first time in many peaceful miles, it gives no pulse at all. There are no fallen stars nearby, and that thought brings you quiet contentment rather than disappointment. Nights are never meant to become a race from one discovery to the next. They are long, gentle journeys filled with pauses, quiet observations, and moments of simple gratitude. You continue across the hillside until you notice an old stone circle resting upon the highest point. Unlike the ancient circle in the misty hollow, this one is much smaller, formed by only 7 smooth stones, standing no higher than your knees. At their center rests a tiny wooden stool, polished smooth by countless years of quiet visitors. You have always enjoyed stopping here because from this peaceful hilltop you can see almost the entire eastern half of the hidden valley. Rivers sparkle gently beneath the moon. Forests stretch endlessly toward distant hills. Tiny lanterns glow beside cottages tucked comfortably among the trees. Everything appears wonderfully peaceful from here, as though the whole valley has settled into one long quiet dream. You place your lantern upon the little stool and sit beside it in the soft clover. Above you, the stars continue their endless silent journey across the heavens. Somewhere among them, you know the places belonging to your 4 tiny travelers patiently await their return. Dawn is still comfortably far away, leaving many peaceful hours before that beautiful moment arrives. Until then, there is nothing to hurry, nothing to fear, and nowhere you would rather be than sitting quietly beneath the endless night sky, surrounded by gentle winds, sleeping flowers, and the comforting glow of 4 forgotten dreams slowly making their way back toward home. You remain seated within the little circle of 7 ancient stones for a long, peaceful while, allowing the quiet stillness of the hilltop to settle gently around you. There is something wonderfully reassuring about sitting beneath a sky that asks nothing of you except to simply be present. The soft clover beneath your hands feels cool with evening dew, and every tiny blossom seems to glow faintly beneath the silver moonlight, as though each flower carries its own little piece of the night sky. A gentle breeze wanders across the hillside, brushing softly through the endless sea of white blossoms before continuing toward the forests beyond. As it passes, the flowers bow together in slow, graceful waves, creating the quiet illusion that the entire meadow is breathing peacefully beneath the stars. You find yourself breathing with it, slow and steady, until your own thoughts become as calm as the landscape surrounding you. The lantern beside you continues shining with its gentle silver warmth. Inside, the 4 tiny stars rest comfortably together among the fragrant moon blossoms. Every now and then, one of them releases the faintest sparkle that drifts lazily upward before dissolving into the lantern's soft glow. You have noticed that these little sparkles always appear after the stars have settled somewhere especially peaceful. Perhaps they are sighs of contentment, or perhaps they are little fragments of dreams slowly becoming whole again. Whatever they are, they always make you smile. Looking toward the eastern horizon, you notice the familiar outline of the moonmill standing quietly upon a distant ridge. Unlike ordinary windmills that turn with the strength of the daytime breeze, the moonmill moves only beneath the light of the moon. Its great white sails rotate so slowly that an entire hour may pass before they complete a single gentle turn. No one in the valley remembers exactly who built it. Some say it was raised by the first keepers of fallen stars, so they would always know which direction the moonlight travelled across the valley. Others believe it quietly grinds moonbeams into silver dust that settles upon flowers every morning as dew. Whatever its true purpose may be, everyone agrees that seeing its slow-moving sails somehow makes the night feel even calmer. You watch the great blades turn almost imperceptibly against the sky until they disappear behind a drifting ribbon of pale mist. Eventually, you rise from the soft clover and continue your peaceful journey eastward. The path ahead descends gently between rolling hills covered with fragrant lavender bushes. Their tiny purple blossoms shimmer beneath the moonlight, releasing a delicate scent into the cool evening air that seems to grow sweeter with every passing step. Countless little moths drift lazily above the flowers, never hurrying from blossom to blossom, simply floating wherever the quiet breeze chooses to carry them. Some settle briefly upon the lavender before lifting once again into the silver air, looking almost like tiny pieces of moonlight that have decided to wander through the valley. You have always loved this hillside. During the daytime it hums softly with bees collecting nectar beneath the warm sun, but at night it belongs entirely to silence, fragrance, and gentle moonlight. Before long, the lavender fields begin giving way to a peaceful grove of silver birch trees. Their smooth white trunks glow softly beneath the stars, standing tall and graceful like silent guardians watching over the valley. The leaves above rustle with the faintest whisper whenever the breeze passes through them, producing a soothing sound unlike any other forest. Willow leaves sigh softly, oak leaves murmur, pine needles hum. But birch leaves seem to laugh quietly among themselves, as though sharing gentle little stories that only trees can understand. Their cheerful whisper somehow never disturbs the silence. Instead, it makes the forest feel wonderfully alive. Hanging from several branches are tiny glass lanterns shaped like acorns. Inside, each rests a sleeping glowbug whose peaceful golden light softly illuminates the path below. The little creatures never awaken while travelers pass beneath them. They simply dream quietly inside their crystal homes, lending just enough light for anyone walking through the grove to see without ever breaking the tranquility of the night. You slow your pace even further, careful not to disturb the sleeping glowbugs. Every few moments one gives a tiny sleepy flicker before settling once again into steady warmth. Their gentle lights remind you of fireplaces glowing inside distant cottages on cold winter evenings. Halfway through the birch grove, you discover something that always fills you with quiet delight. An old wooden bench rests beneath the largest tree, its curved back decorated with delicate carvings of stars, leaves, moons, and tiny birds. The wood has grown wonderfully smooth after countless peaceful evenings spent beneath the open sky. Although no one claims the bench as their own, it somehow always feels as though it has been waiting patiently for whoever happens to need a few quiet moments of rest. You gently brush away a few silver birch leaves that have drifted onto the seat before settling comfortably upon it. The lantern rests beside you once more, casting a warm silver glow across the carved patterns in the wood. As you trace one tiny carved star with your fingertips, you begin wondering how many other keepers have paused here over the centuries. Perhaps one sat here after returning 100 fallen stars in a single season. Another may have stopped simply to admire the moon shining through the branches. One might have arrived feeling tired, only to leave carrying a peaceful heart once again. The bench never asks questions. It simply offers quiet comfort to anyone who sits upon it. The longer you remain there, the more you notice little details hidden throughout the grove. Tiny mushrooms glowing faintly blue beneath fallen leaves, a feather caught gently between two branches, swaying almost lazily whenever the breeze wanders by, a snail slowly making its unhurried journey across a patch of moss carrying its tiny home with patient determination, a single silver leaf drifting gracefully from the canopy above, twirling through the moonlight until it lands soundlessly beside your foot. Each little moment seems complete all by itself, requiring nothing more than your quiet attention. After some time, your lantern gives the faintest pulse, then another. Not strong enough to suggest that a fallen star is nearby, but just enough to remind you that the night's gentle journey is still unfolding. You lift the lantern once more, smile softly at the four peaceful little travellers sleeping inside, and continue along the winding path beneath the silver birch trees. Somewhere beyond the quiet grove, hidden beneath another beautiful stretch of moonlit sky, the valley patiently holds yet another forgotten star, resting peacefully exactly where it needs to be until your calm footsteps, your faithful lantern, and another unhurried hour of the endless gentle night finally bring the two of you together. The silver birch grove slowly begins to open as you continue along the gently winding path. Behind you, the tiny acorn lanterns become fewer and farther apart until their warm golden glow disappears completely behind the graceful white trunks. Ahead, the landscape changes once again, not suddenly, but so gradually that you barely notice it happening. The soft moss beneath your feet gives way to a smooth carpet of tiny pale grasses that shimmer like silk beneath the moonlight. Here and there, delicate white feathers rest upon the ground, carried here by gentle breezes from birds that quietly nested somewhere high in the surrounding trees. None of the feathers appear out of place. Instead, they seem like little gifts left behind by the night itself, decorating the path without anyone ever intending to do so. You stoop for a moment to lift one of the smallest feathers. It weighs almost nothing at all. Turning it slowly between your fingers, you watch it catch the moonlight before allowing the breeze to carry it away once more. It drifts lazily through the air for several peaceful moments before settling softly into the grass again. Watching its slow journey somehow reminds you that not everything needs a destination chosen in advance. Some things simply trust the gentle winds to guide them where they are meant to rest. Smiling quietly, you continue onward beneath the vast sky. The moon has now climbed higher than it was when you first left your little cottage beneath the willow tree. Its soft silver light spills across every hill, every stream, every sleeping flower with calm generosity, asking for nothing in return. Shadows have grown shorter, yet no less gentle. They lie peacefully beneath bushes and ancient trees like comfortable blankets wrapped around the roots. Somewhere behind distant hills, an owl calls only once before silence gently settles over the valley again. It is the kind of silence that feels wonderfully full rather than empty, filled with breathing forests, drifting clouds, sleepy creatures and quiet dreams unfolding unseen beneath countless rooftops. Soon, you arrive at a place known among the oldest fairies as the Meadow of Gentle Echoes. At first glance, it appears to be an ordinary open field stretching beneath the stars. Soft grasses ripple quietly across rolling ground while little white daisies bloom in scattered clusters, their sleepy faces turned toward the moon instead of the sun. Yet, there is something quietly special about this peaceful meadow. Sounds never truly disappear here. Instead, they linger ever so softly before slowly fading into the night. A bird's distant song, the rustle of leaves, the whisper of a stream, all remain for just a little longer than they do anywhere else in the valley. Not loudly, not clearly, but gently, like pleasant memories refusing to leave too quickly. You pause near the edge of the meadow and simply listen. At first you hear only the breeze. Then, almost imperceptibly, another sound reaches your ears. It is laughter. Not recent laughter, but laughter from earlier in the evening, lingering quietly among the grasses. Perhaps two young rabbits chased one another here before settling down to sleep. Perhaps a pair of fox cubs played hide and seek beneath the wildflowers until their mother gently called them home. The laughter has become wonderfully soft now, barely more than a warm feeling carried upon the wind. Moments later, it fades completely, leaving behind nothing except a peaceful smile upon your face. You continue walking, and soon another gentle echo reaches you. This one sounds like the distant humming of someone happily working. It reminds you of the village baker beginning the morning long before sunrise, quietly kneading dough while the rest of the valley still sleeps. Or perhaps it belongs to a grandmother humming beside her window while carefully knitting a warm blanket during the evening hours. The melody lasts only a few gentle breaths before melting into silence once again. You realize that this meadow quietly collects not only sounds, but kindness itself. Every gentle voice that passes through seems to leave behind the smallest trace of warmth before continuing on its journey. The lantern beside you remains calm, its glow steady and comforting. The 4 tiny stars sleep peacefully inside among the moon blossoms, their lights now so gentle that they almost resemble glowing pearls resting upon soft petals. You wonder whether they hear these quiet echoes too. Perhaps while they sleep, they dream not only of returning to the heavens, but also of every peaceful place that cared for them during their journey. Near the center of the meadow stands a magnificent old oak, unlike any other tree in the valley. Its enormous branches spread so widely that they seem almost to embrace the entire hillside. The trunk is broad enough that several fairies standing hand in hand could never completely circle it. Deep grooves run through its bark like gentle rivers carved by countless peaceful seasons. Tiny patches of silver moss grow along its roots, glowing faintly beneath the moonlight. Suspended from one of the lowest branches hangs a beautifully crafted wooden swing. Its seat has been polished smooth by years of quiet visitors, while thick braided ropes disappear high into the leafy canopy above. No one knows exactly who built it. It has simply always been there, waiting patiently beneath the great oak for anyone wishing to spend a few peaceful moments watching the stars. You walk toward it and gently lower yourself onto the smooth wooden seat. For several moments you do not move at all. The swing hangs perfectly still beneath the great tree while the meadow stretches quietly before you like an endless silver sea. Then, with the gentlest movement of your feet, you allow yourself to sway almost imperceptibly. Forward, then back, never high, never fast, just enough to match the slow rhythm of the evening breeze. The sensation is wonderfully calming. Above, countless stars continue their silent journey across the heavens. Below, soft grasses ripple like quiet waves. The lantern glows peacefully beside you. Somewhere beyond the meadow, a tiny stream sings its endless lullaby to smooth white stones. The swing moves so gently that after a while you can no longer tell whether you are creating the motion yourself or whether the night breeze has quietly taken over. You lose all sense of time. Minutes may pass, perhaps even longer. It hardly matters. The hidden valley has never measured its nights by clocks. Instead, it measures them by peaceful moments collected one after another, like tiny stars resting safely inside a crystal lantern. Eventually, without warning, a single tiny glowing seed drifts slowly down from the great oak above. It lands softly upon the back of your hand, shining with the faintest golden light before gently dissolving into hundreds of sparkling motes that drift lazily upward instead of falling down. You watch them disappear among the branches with quiet wonder. Every summer, the ancient oak releases only a handful of these magical seeds. They never grow into new trees. Instead, the old fairies believe each one carries away a peaceful thought from whoever happens to be resting beneath its branches, carrying that quiet happiness into the night sky where it becomes part of the moonlight itself. You smile at the thought. If that old story is true, then somewhere high above the valley, a tiny piece of your peaceful evening is now traveling gently among the stars, adding the smallest hint of warmth to the endless silver light that watches over every sleeping flower, every quiet stream, every little cottage, and every gentle dream throughout the hidden world. Meanwhile, somewhere far beyond the meadow of gentle echoes, your faithful lantern begins to brighten ever so slightly once again, patiently reminding you that another forgotten little star is waiting beneath the endless moonlit sky, perfectly content to remain where it is until your calm footsteps eventually find their way there. The gentle glow of your lantern grows just a little brighter as you leave the ancient oak behind. The wooden swing slowly comes to rest beneath its broad branches, moving less and less until it hangs perfectly still once more, quietly waiting for another peaceful traveller on another distant evening. You offer the old tree one last grateful smile before continuing across the moonlit meadow. The breeze remains soft, carrying the delicate fragrance of clover, lavender, willow leaves, and distant water. Every familiar scent seems to gather together, as though the hidden valley itself wishes to accompany you during the final steps of tonight's quiet journey. The path ahead becomes wonderfully familiar. You recognize every gentle bend, every smooth stone, every little stream crossing beneath tiny wooden bridges, every sleepy flower closing its petals until morning. The valley no longer feels like a place you are traveling through. It feels like home. Your lantern continues leading you without hurry, its silver light growing warmer with each peaceful step. Inside, the 4 tiny stars remain asleep among the moon blossoms, glowing with calm contentment. Then, just as the first hint of the coming dawn begins to gently soften the eastern horizon, the lantern gives one final pulse. You stop. There, resting upon the highest blade of grass in a quiet little meadow no larger than your own garden, is the smallest fallen star you have ever seen. Its light is wonderfully gentle, not bright, not dazzling, just enough to create a tiny silver halo upon the dew surrounding it. The little star seems almost shy, quietly waiting beneath the fading night sky. You kneel slowly beside it. For a long moment, neither of you moves. You simply admire its peaceful beauty. You cannot help wondering how something so very small could have travelled all the way from the heavens to this quiet little corner of the valley. Perhaps the tiniest dreams travel the farthest. With both hands wrapped gently around your lantern, you slowly open its crystal petals one final time. The warm silver light spills softly across the meadow. The little star hesitates only for a heartbeat. Then, lighter than morning mist, it lifts gracefully into the air. Tiny droplets of dew sparkle beneath it like scattered diamonds before quietly settling back upon the grass. The little traveller floats peacefully into the lantern. The moment it joins the others, something extraordinary happens. Not with noise, not with brilliance, but with perfect, peaceful harmony. The 5 little stars begin circling one another in slow, graceful patterns: gold, amber, blue, silver, and the tiny new pearl-white light. Their gentle colours blend together until the lantern shines with the soft warmth of a quiet sunrise. For the first time all night, it feels complete. You gently close the crystal petals. The lantern becomes wonderfully still. Its work for the evening is finished. You lift your eyes toward the heavens. The eastern sky has begun changing almost imperceptibly. Deep midnight blue slowly gives way to gentle shades of sapphire, then pale violet, then the faintest whisper of rose resting along the distant horizon. The stars above continue shining, though their lights become softer with every passing moment. It is time. You climb one final hill overlooking the entire hidden valley. Everything below rests peacefully beneath the last silver moments of the night. The rivers glow like ribbons of glass. The forests breathe quietly beneath drifting morning mist. Tiny cottages remain asleep, their windows dark and peaceful. The moonmill turns one final slow rotation before the first sunlight reaches its sails. You stand upon the hilltop, holding your lantern close to your heart. As always, the final part of your work requires no effort at all. You simply wait. One by one, the 5 tiny stars begin rising from the lantern. The crystal petals unfold silently. The first little star floats upward, then the second, the third, the fourth. Finally, the smallest star rises last of all. None of them rush. They drift gently into the brightening sky like tiny glowing feathers carried by the calm morning air. Higher and higher they climb. Their lights grow smaller, softer, more distant, until, one by one, each quietly returns to its own place among the countless stars watching over the world. The sky feels whole again. The lantern grows wonderfully light in your hands. Empty, yet somehow more beautiful than ever. Because an empty lantern simply means another night's kindness has found its way home. The first golden ray of sunrise gently touches the highest mountain beyond the valley. Birds begin greeting the new morning with soft, cheerful songs. Wildflowers slowly open their sleepy petals. Tiny rabbits peek from their cozy burrows. The hidden valley awakens little by little, never hurried, always peaceful. You begin the familiar walk back toward your little cottage beneath the old willow tree. The path feels warmer now beneath the gentle light of dawn. When you reach home, you carefully place the crystal lantern upon its wooden shelf beside the window. Inside, only the fragrant moon blossoms remain. They release one last delicate shimmer before quietly becoming ordinary flowers once again. You open the tiny round window. Fresh morning air fills the little cottage. Sunlight slips gently across the wooden floor. Outside, the birds begin another peaceful day. Inside, you curl beneath your soft blanket beside the round window where the first warm rays of sunshine gently reach your face. Before closing your eyes, you look once more toward the bright blue morning sky. Somewhere far above, 5 tiny stars shine quietly once again. No one looking up during the day would ever know they had wandered so far from home during the night. No one except you. A gentle smile finds its way across your face, not because you accomplished something grand, but because you offered quiet kindness to 5 tiny lights that simply needed someone patient enough to guide them home. Your eyelids grow wonderfully heavy. The morning breeze softly stirs the willow branches outside your window. Leaves whisper together like old friends sharing peaceful stories. Somewhere nearby, the little stream continues its endless lullaby. The cottage fills with warm golden light. Your breathing slows. The hidden valley watches peacefully over another beautiful day. And somewhere beyond the clouds, the stars wait patiently for another evening, knowing that when night returns, a kind little fairy with a crystal lantern will once again walk the quiet paths beneath the moon, not in search of adventure or glory, but simply to bring a little more peace back into the sky. And as the gentle morning settles over the valley, your own peaceful dream begins, carrying you softly into sleep beneath the same stars you so lovingly helped find their way home. The end.